Okay, in this section, we're actually going to show you how auto creating and using manual tools actually helps you get an image done a lot quicker and a lot more detail. I'm going to open up an image here, and we have this this scholastic team. It's kind of like the Chicago Bulls, but it's not. You can see the blue, the white, and the orange here. And as all my designs do, the first thing I do when I open up a design is I size it based upon what the customer wants it. They want this 4 inches. I will go to Layout, and I'll go right here. I'll set the height to 4 inches, 4.0, and hit Enter. And now that sets the size of my image. Now we can see from our design here we have 3 different colors. We have this royal blue, we have this white section, and we have this orange section. So the next step is to go to Hotfix and then create our catalog. And from here, what I'll do is I'll sweep out my bead bar. Now I'll go through and add my stones. So now I'm going to choose an SS6 stone, which is my 2mm, which is going to be my clear. And I will choose an SS10 cobalt for the outline of the logo. And then we'll also choose SS10 orange, or as it says here, is sun. All right, once I have all my 3 colors, I hit accept. And now it's time to create. Now, inspecting this image, you can see that it's very low resolution. You can see the different colors that it's actually detecting as orange. And it's just a low resolution, and that's what JPEGs are. So when we actually want to auto-create this design, we may have to do a couple steps to achieve that. For instance, in the Hotfix tab, I will choose the fill pattern that I intend to use. And for this one here, we'll just use the area with radial hotfix. And we'll do it. We have manual methods, we have auto trace, and we have autocomplete. I'm going to do autocomplete. And I'm going to take my magic wand and I'm going to click on it. And let me set these down first. You're going to see this this automatic tracing menu come up, okay? And this is going to help us to accurately detect all those other than orange colors within that part of the sea. Okay, so when we click on it, we can see we're only picking up a small section of that orange. So we're not picking up the other color tones. Okay, so what we have to do is start bringing the depth of color that it detects up and how much tolerance of that orange color we can choose. Now, when we adjust that, now we click on it, we have a lot more section that we're seeing now. Okay. What I'm looking for, these are called running ants, okay? What I'm looking for is that they're smooth, okay? They're not like ripply like they are down here, which means I got to bring this up a little bit more. And I'll click on it now. And it's getting smoother, just a little bit more of the tolerance. And I think that's where we want to be right there. So I set my color depth bits to 5. 5 bits. That means it detects depth of color, how dark or lighter from the parent image, which is orange, we're going to select, and what the percentage of that orange I'm actually detecting. Okay, and you can see that my running ant here is actually encircling the whole entire orange area. Once I've done that, I can hit my enter button, and there's my stones. I always turn 3D on so I can see what my stones look like. And from here, I can then select object, so I can tell that to be orange. And there we go. Now, on initial inspection of this, we can see that every time we place stones in there, okay, we have the orange stones are kind of encroaching on the white area, and we want to control that. So what we do is, after we adjust the bead spacing, which is right here, we're going to set that to 5, okay? Now we're going to increase the margin, and margin is going to bring that orange stones further away from the white area. So I'll start with like maybe 8. Hit enter, and I'll zoom in to see how much is actually touching, and I still got a little bit touching there. So I'm going to bring it in a little bit more. And it looks like we got to bring it all the way up to 16. And when we do 16, we actually got See, we lost a couple lines of stones here. See how we tapered it down at 16? It went down to one line of stones here. So I'm going to back it off so I get all 4 lines of stones there. There we go. That's better. All the way around. So we're consistent all the way around. Okay? Turning your image on and off is important so you can see exactly what your design is going to look like before we progress to the next color. And there we go. Now we can see we have this area right where the corner is that it actually messed up these stones here. So I'll move them right now. I'll go to Edit Hotfix here, and I will grab that stone and move it in location. And perhaps I'll right-click and insert a Hotfix stone right here. And then I'll drop my stone by hitting the Escape button, and then just move these other ones right in the location there. There we go. And that kind of cleans it up for me a little bit. And I ain't spent. I kind of edit as I go. Okay, so I don't have to do a lot of it on all the colors later on. Alright, so I'm happy with that. So now what I can do, you could even do something like this. You can go right in here. You can see how it tapers into just 2 single stones here. Maybe what I'll do is just move this one right here. And then insert another one right here. So now I have a better look and feel, and your eyes are not going to that area anymore. Okay? So what I'll do is I'll turn my image back on. I'll go to Select Object, and now we're going to do the next color, which is going to be the blue. And I'm going to do this manually because I want a path line here. I want a single line of stones. And if I do automatic, what it's going to do, if I click on it, it's going to put 2 lines of stones there. It's seeing the left side of that blue line and the right side of the blue line, so it's putting 2 there. Now I could cheat. Let's go to Select Object and change the color of it first. And I could delete one of the sides of it. Okay, but it doesn't give me a lot of control of where that's lining up. See, I'm on the edge of it. Okay, now to get this off, there's a lot of moving of nodes I would have to do to set it. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to create this manually. Okay, and I usually do a lot of manual methods on single line stuff, especially when it's this low of a resolution. To do manual, we want a path line. That's the type of stone setting we're going to have. All right. And I'm not going to use this automatic, so I'm going to use manual here. And from here I choose my stones. And I'll just start right from here. I'm going to click, and I'm going to keep, if I zoom in, you see this vector line I'm drawing? I'm going to keep it right in the middle of where I'm drawing. And that's where my middle of my stone is going to be. Use my hand tool, so I don't have to keep zooming out like that, and zooming back in, and keep going. Using your hand tool, or it's better called panning tool, allows you to pan around the design. You can actually get it quicker. Being zoomed out too much oftentimes makes me target, move, and try to set that node where I want it to be, right in the middle, and sometimes it's not if I'm zoomed out, and then I have to hit backspace and redo it. So by staying zoomed in, I can target and move through my design much more rapidly. And I'll just click here. And now here, I have to hold the control. I need a corner node here. See these nodes that are circular right here? They're called curve nodes. It allows me to curve from that point. If I wanted a straight node, I would do a shift, and then now I have a straight node. See, it's just doing straight lines, okay? But on corners here, I just can't just click here and then expect to make that corner without that flaring out. So I need what's called a corner node. Now, a corner node will be blue in color. Okay? I'm going to hold my control button and then click, and that sets my corner node. Now I'll hold my shift key down because I need a straight node here. This is a straight line, not a curve. And I'll come over here, and now I'll hold my control button again with my shift key. So I get a square blue node, which is a square, it's a straight corner node. And now that allows me to come off this area and continue down. We don't have too far to go on this. And we'll just drop this at the end, and we'll just come right through here. Here. Now I do put a little bit more than a little bit more nodes than normal because for editing purposes later, I like to have more nodes here that I can use to pull and reshape and do other things with my design later on. So I do put a couple nodes, like I could just go right to here where that last node is and set that, but I want a node here. So I can later on move that node to control this area. Okay? That node there controls from here to this next node. So I kind of place them close together. I don't go crazy on how many nodes I'll put in there, okay? Because I do want to finish this design today, but I do put quite a bit. I maybe put one every 2 inches, or every half or quarter inch. Again, we have this area where we're going into a straight line area here, and I need a corner node here too, because it does cut a corner here. So again, that's Control and Shift, and then click, and then I'll release my control button, because all I need, I'll hold my control button, and I'll place another corner node here. And it allows me to come out of this without flaring out on my curve. And then we're almost done, so now we can just click on the hand again. And just about done. So now we'll do this, and we'll do this, and we'll come up here, and we'll finish it with a corner node, and that's just the control button. And now we hit enter, and there's my blue stones. And they're right where I need them, okay? From here, I can select on my select object and adjust bead spacing. You can't adjust bead spacing unless you go to select object. If you're in create mode still, you can't change this. It'll have no effect unless you're on select object. There we go. Now we only have one more section to do, and that's the white. By the way, the 3 tools that you have here that you're working on is select object, which allows me to select an object that I created on mass. Okay, it's not stone by stone. It's all the stones wrapped together in that color, and I could edit it. I could change the margin. I could change the bead spacing. I can go from radial to hexagon, or I could change the fill pattern altogether. Okay, that's select object. When I'm in create mode, I can either click on create mode here and choose one of the many options to do that, or I can just go to Hotfix and do the same thing. Okay? And then, of course, the edit Hotfix mode allows me to individually change the placement of any given stone just by moving it, clicking on it and moving it. Okay? There we go. That's editing all the way down to the fly. Okay, so now the next section is actually the white section. Okay, we still have to do. And I always do the most extreme. I always work from large stones out, okay? Because if I do my image and I do an SS10 and SS10, if I think I can get away with an SS10 clear in here, I'd rather go that route because it'll lessen my stone count. But you can see the area, because of the size of my design is very narrow, that I'm pretty much going to have to use the SS6 stones that I pre-planned already, okay? So we're going to click on the SS6 stones, turn my image back on, and we'll go back to path. And then we'll start right from here. Control button. Come out of it. And I'm just going to zoom out a little bit more on this one here. I don't have to be as careful on the 6 stones because they are going to be smaller. But what I do want to do is make sure that this line that I'm drawing stays right in the middle of the 2 color stones. Okay. The more centered I'm between, the less editing I have to do after I set these. And again, if I'm hugging the blue line too much in an area, I'll have to grab the node and slide and drag it into the right position. And again, now we're coming to a corner, so that's a Control and Shift because I'm going to a straight area here. So I'll go to Control and Shift. I'll come straight across with the Control and Shift again, and then I'll just come back out of it just like this. Click here, and there's a lot here. I'm probably going to edit after the fact because the stones are real close together where the blue is lining up with the orange. Let's click over here. Okay. Click off the hand. The hand tool will help you out big time. It does save you time in zooming in and zooming out. You can see right here where it really narrows out between the orange and the blue. Definitely going to have to come back and edit that out by moving the nodes. And it will come over here, and again, we have an area where we need to go to a corner node, and we're going to go to a straight node afterwards. So it's Control and Shift. Line up your node right in between the area. And I may want to see how it kind of straightened out on me right there. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold Control button here so I keep that curved nature from here to here. And now I'll hit the Shift key, and there we go. So I'll come right back out of it. Right here, here. You see how nice it flows with the curve. And we're just about done with this one, so I'll just click here, and I'll click here because I have to control this area. It's really close between those two. And I'll right here, and then one more Control to meet the corner to corner. Hit Enter, and there's my stones. From here, I'll go to Select Object, adjust my speed spacing, which is going to be about 5. Okay, and now we'll remove our image, and I'm going to change the background so I can see a little bit better where the white's lining up. Clear stones are kind of hard to see on a white background, so I'll change it to black, and that gives me a little bit more clarity here. And now you can see clearly how close these stones are together. So I don't want to squeeze my orange stones by changing the margin settings, because it's going to delete more stones out of them, and I won't have a nice transition from the grouping I have here to the 4 lines of stones I got going to the other end of the sea. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to attack the blue. Okay, I'm going to move the blue out. And what I'll do, you see these nodes right here, if I move them a little bit, it's going to give me the room that I need to actually adjust this further out. So now I have a little bit more room between the two. And I'll just quickly scan just wherever. That's why I like a lot more nodes than normal. So I have the ability to edit this later. If I didn't have enough nodes, then I would have to add nodes by simply clicking on a node. And when I right-click on it, I can do several different things. I can add a node, which means when I created this node, if I select add a node, it's going to add a node after that node in the direction I was going. If I select insert, it's going to go before that node. Okay, I can do that. If I add node, there's another node right there. I can click, and then just keep clicking until I hit escape. But I don't like to keep continually going around my object adding nodes where I need it. So I'll put more nodes in during the creation process. And this I'll just bring up here. I'll click on the blue. So I'm editing both. I'm editing the blue and the clear. You see this one here, I'm probably have to add a node there. So I'm going to bring this down a little bit. And on the blue, I don't see a node here. So let me zoom out a little bit. Find the nearest node. And I'm going to click on it. And I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a node. I need something here to control this area. And there it is. So I'm just going to bring this up like this. Hit escape. And now I can control this area like I needed to. Okay, and then we'll click on here, and we'll just bring this down. I'm probably going to insert a node now. I was going in this direction when I created this, so if I choose insert, it's going to put a node before this one. Add one would add it after it. I'll go to insert, and there's my node right there. So now I can move it down the line wherever I want to control it. And on each end of that node, you have what's called a Bezier grip, which changes the shape of that curve. Okay, it changes the shape from this node to that node, or from this node to the next node down. Okay, and we're getting there, so we're going to move this up, and that's too far, so I'll move that down. A little motion when you're zoomed in this far can be a lot. And this looks pretty good all around here. I may want a little bit taper the distance here, so we'll do that. And this looks absolutely excellent there. And now we're going to get into an area here where the blue is just too narrow against the orange for that white. So I'm going to click on the blue, make a little bit more area there, and now it's going to allow me to bring this out a little bit more. Again, you won't have to edit this intensely on all your designs. Just on some custom ones, you will have to do some editing just like this, and that's good. That's enough. That's enough spacing in between. I don't want to go too crazy on it. And I'm just going to add an insert a node. Right, and what that's going to allow me to do is going to come up here and then move this node down here a little bit further to control how it comes out from this node to make this sharp curve. And then this one here, we'll move up here. I'll click on the blue, move it in further. Ooh, too far. There we go. Yeah, we're just about done. So now I'll just come down to here. this one toward it. There we go. Remember, I'm zoomed in 660%, so a little motion, little pull on that node is a lot. There's the node, so I'm going to do is add a node right here. Nope. I'm going to bring this node right here. And I just want to control this area a little bit better. There we go. No, that's too far. There we go. And I think this area was pretty good on last look. Right here we're too close, so make a little bit of room with the blue. Insert node. I need one right here. There we go. That gives me the room to move the white. Too far. And let's move a little. Let's get a little bit more room in there. I want to stay true to the actual image, okay? Can't go too far, but then again, I have some room here because I'm zoomed in so far, so just trying to get this one in place. What I'm going to do is I'm going to control that a little bit better by inserting a node. And then now this one here can control this a little bit better. There we go. A little bit more. There we go. And this one here will come up a little bit. Ooh, look how close this is. On areas like this, I mean, yeah, I could have done this search for conflicts and deleted them all, but I try not to do that all the time because it's going to delete the stone underneath every time it does that. So it could actually wind up causing me more work and adding the stones that I didn't want deleted. And I think we're pretty much done here. I may just move this up a little bit. There we go. That looks pretty good. And I'll just straighten this up. And we'll do the same thing here. Just move this up, give me the room. There we go. And now we'll zoom back out. And there we go. So now we'll do hotfix conflicts. And we have no conflict. Because we manually create a lot of this, okay? So now we created it. Actually, it matches up dead on to the object we wanted, okay? And that took me about 15 minutes to do. So this is ready to run. Okay, so I'm going to save this file. I'm going to save. I'm going to save as, and then we'll name this Chicago C or whatever, or maybe. Well, this is actually a high school. It's actually Cypress. Cypress C photo. Okay, and save it. Now, at this time, we can actually do some more things there. Maybe we want to be a little bit more jazzy. Maybe the customer's given us a little bit more artistic license to actually change some different things. And one thing I haven't shown you is different types of fill patterns that we actually have with this software. We've been working with the radial fill forever. So let me show you. If I click on this and I choose, this one here is called a variable distance hotfix fill. Now, I'm not going to do it on this. I'm actually going to do it on another page here. I'm going to go back to this star. I'm going to change the bulldog. I'm going to save the bulldog. I kind of like that. Alright, good. You save. I'll delete them. Alright, so now I'm going to bring in a graph. I'm going to bring in another graphic. I'm going to bring in this star here. Alright, and we'll fill it red, okay? Now you saw the conversion to radial, okay? And in the radial, we have several different fills. We have the radial, which we mentioned. It kind of like tries to make a circle out of the fill pattern, and then it'll jet out to the sharp angle that it needs to on the end of the star. And we have two. We have the radial, and we have where we have a hexagon. Now, what the hexagon allows me to do, like sometimes when I do a radial with a border, right? Sometimes I got to get those stone spacing real close together to make it look like it's filled, okay? But look what it does. It gives me 786 stones for this. Sometimes, and this works great on text, sometimes a hex fill, okay, with a gapping of like 25 gives me, and maybe 20, okay, gives me the same fill property but much less stones, okay? It's just it doesn't matter. It's your taste, whatever the customer wants. If they just want a star filled with stones, the hexagon will actually allow you to achieve less stone usage. But if they want like they want a pattern in there, then you might be forced to use the radial because it does do a real nice pattern fill. You know what I mean? We'll go to 6. And there we go. So we got that nice little pattern fill, squeezes all the stones in there. But look at the stone cap, 940. So we trade off production time and stone quantity on hand versus the other thing, okay? The next type of fill pattern we have is called this variable distance hotfix fill. What this does, it sees the brownstones as my baseline, okay? And I could program it to space it sees like this line of stones right here as a single line, and then the next line in, and the next line in, next line in. And what I could do is I could set the distances of each of those lines so we're looking like we're going into a 3D effect. So if I go to distances here, what I can do is then I'll go to how many lines or rings do I want. I'm going to go to 8. And from here, I adjust my spacing. Like I said, the red up here indicates the edge of the star. In this case, it would be the topaz, small topaz. And then I would set my first bead spacing. So I'll do 0.090, okay? And then I'll go to, now I'll start tapering it. Now I'll go to 0.08. I'll go to 0.07. 0.06. We're getting tighter and tighter as we go down. 0.05. 0.04. Enter. 0.03. And then finally 0.02. And that's what we get. We get a tapering in of the design all the way down into the center. It kind of gives you that Doctor Who 3D effect there. Okay, so remember, we're working off the baseline. So the first line, you can even go the opposite way. You can go dense on the top and then narrow into nothing in the middle. So it depends on what your customer wants. Or you can make it sporadic. Maybe you just want just 4 lines of stones. Well, then you would just go to distances and you would set your rings to 4, right? And then you would just, since it's 4, 100% is divisible by 4 by 25. Right, so we go is 0.025, and then we go 0.025. Yeah, 0.025, and then finally 0.025, and then we hit enter, and that's what we get. Now we get a bead spacing all the way down. Okay. This here is actually, margin is actually distance off the baseline. Of course, if you increase this, it comes away from the brown, and you can see we start omitting lines of stones in this pattern. Okay, it's kind of pretty cool. I mean, if I can keep it going, I can make a flash program out of that. That'd be nice. Okay, but there now we have a little bit of spacing, especially if they wanted just a little bit of the shirt color to be in between the border and the fill. Okay, the next fill pattern we have here is called flexible hotfix fill. Okay, and what this does, let me go set this to 0. There we go. What this allows me to do, and let's get rid of my border. There we go. It allows me to create dynamic fill patterns on my own. I can tell the stones how to fill. For instance, maybe I want like a zigzag pattern how the stones fill. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll choose the flexible hotfix fill, and I will use my stitch direction here. Okay, if I click on that, if I start from one end, I'm going to hold my shift key because it's going to be straight nodes, and I'll start from one end and I'll just work like a zigzag pattern. What I'm doing is defining how these stones should fill that shape. From one end to the other, going from top to bottom, hit enter, and that's what it does. Now what I'll do is I will increase the amount of spacing between stones, like the 12. Oop, no, 2. Not 121, 12. And then what I'll do is I'll decrease my spacing maybe to 6, and maybe we go to 15 on here. And what it does this nice little crisscross pattern. Now we missed this area because I should have came up sharper on this. And you could do it. You could just move this over, and now it'll control that area too. Just move all these over too. Every time I move it, it changes the look of my object. And I'll just move this so the V kind of intersects all through there. And I'll just move this like this, and there we go. So it kind of gives me that nice little shape, okay? Another way we can do this is actually by doing, let me go ahead and go back to, let's go back out of this and go into it again. Maybe I want a different curve pattern to this, okay? Now, that's kind of geometrically impossible because we have an object that has several sharp points, okay, that are under 45 degrees, okay? So, but I can do it if I go to the stitch direction and I start from here, and I'll just do like a wavy pattern to it, just like this, and hit enter. My stones do follow that wavy pattern. Okay, every time I move my nodes, it changes the way it is. So there we have our wavy pattern. Okay, so some cool tools that you can use. Now I can actually add a border to this, and it'll actually make my design look pretty good. There we go. Again, I could make this slope. You can see the point right here. If I move this straight up like this, watch what happens in the middle here. I get that wrap around there. And then move this out here, and then it moves over to this location. So you do have the node points here where you can actually manipulate the curvature and actually the fill pattern, just like that. Okay? That is flexible hotfix. The other thing we can do with flexible hotfix fill is actually add a hole. And we can do it on any one, okay? If I fill this in and say I want to cut a hole in here, I do have a hole button here. And what I'll do is I'll hold my shift key for straight node, and I'll just cut like a diamond out of here. And there's the hole. Okay? And I could change it by moving the nodes. I could change the shape of it. Every time I move it, it'll fill the stone, it'll backfill the stones where I need them. And here we go. So this may happen like if you're trying to put a shape around a picture on a shirt. You know, you got the picture there. You bring the shirt in and you put the shape in it, and then you cut the hole out, and you have the picture showing through the rhinestones. You know what I mean? That kind of thing. So that's the only time I've ever used the whole feature. Okay, and that's available in all of them. And then the next one we have is called grid. Okay, and basically it's just a grid. Okay. By the way, I'm going to get rid of these holes. If I click it on the nodes and hit delete, it gets rid of the hole. So if you change your mind, last one always wants to be a problem. Cut. We'll just click on it. And two hotfix. And the next one is actually grid. And it's just a grid of stones. Okay. A couple of tools up here. We have bead spacing still. Okay, let me turn off my vector. Okay. And we have the space between the lines. So if I decrease this to 5, my beads get closer together. This one here separates the lines of stones. If I go 25, you'll see I have less lines of it, which is kind of like a neat effect. And then what we have over here is indentation. You see all my stones are lined up underneath each other. And if I go 50%, my stones knock in, so now it's kind of like a hexagon fill. Okay? Just like this is, say one stone underneath two. This one here is actually bead angle. I can't do a bead angle this because it's a round stone. If I was using a diamond, and I could change the angle of it, but it doesn't work on this one here. And this one here is actually tolerance. Tolerance, when I change it to a lower number, if I go to 2, it actually decreases the amount of stones found on the outside. One thing that grid always does, it always does like a, let me go to 30 again. See what it does? It actually pushes stones outside of the intended area. See that peeking out there? So if I lower this number, I'll go down to 2, it'll get rid of any of those areas outside the border there. Okay, so it's more sharper. And I only want to do that when I intend to put a border around this. Okay? There we go. So now we have a border, and now if I go to my tolerance, like I said, for 30, I still got the room there. So, let me see. It's 15. Sorry, that's 15. This is lines. This is space between lines, and that just it just gives me a gap right there. Okay, between the two elements. The next fill pattern we got is my favorite. It's actually called variable density fill. Okay, and this works great with small stones. What it's going to do, it's going to scatter my stones. Let me turn on. I didn't click on anything. Hold on. it's going to scatter my stones from the middle out, just like that. And it works great with like smaller stones, like this. Okay. Now we have several controls on here. What we can do is actually, this is bead spacing. All right. So if I tighten this up to 3, in the middle they get tighter. All right. Now out here, this is actually called bead spacing at the end. I usually like to set this to 30 because it kind of makes it look more Cosmo. Okay. Um, and some people kind of like the higher number, 75. The bead spacing out on the ends gets a lot more faded. Okay. This one here is cursor position again. This fills it in just like that. I really don't use that one. Whatever the default is, I don't mess with it. The only thing I do is I mess with the bead spacing in the middle, which is this. 15 spaces them out further in the middle. Lower number spaces them in closer in the middle. And then on the outside, lower the number, populates more stones on the outside. Okay? And it kind of looks very nice. Okay? We have 2 settings for this. If you remember, the radial fill pattern gave me the hexagon fill as well as the radial. On this one here, we have the radial, and I like to take this number to 15, and then if I want like a soda pop effect, I would do linear. And what it does this. So if you're thinking about like USA, and you're doing red, white, and blue, you do red, and the red up top would be like flames, okay? So it kind of give you that tapered effect up the top. And again, you can actually change all this. The number here now becomes, wherever the tighter the stones are, this is what this number affects it. Wherever the stones are looser, this number affects it. Okay, so if I go to 20, you'll see the stones down here get closer. If I go to 3, the stones down here get closer. Okay? So that's what that one is. Now another one, which is just came out just a couple months ago, is this textured hotfix fill. If I'm doing Halloween designs or I need some kind of real dynamic conceptual art, somebody gives me a shape and says, do something with it. I'm going to go to this texture fill because what it does is it immediately sends like a, you know what I mean? It does a texture right inside that star. Okay, there's a star and there's the stones over top of it. And we could change those textures by clicking on the textures, and we'll do like this.
Awesome.
All right, okay. And what we have is, it converts. Now we have this. Okay. Now what I want to do is actually I want to change this up. Here's the 2 stones that it's using. So instead of the white, maybe I want to use like maybe I want to use the red, and we'll do the white stones in the middle. Okay, so I'll click on the white, and I'll change it to red. Watch the change happen. And now on the that even looks good like that. And then I'll change the red stone to white. And now the inside stone will be white. Alright, and when we border this, I'll border it with white stones. It absolutely looks dynamic. That's a nice little texture effect.
I love that.
So that gives, no one else has got this kind of look out there, and no one has the ability to create it like that. Okay, it runs beautifully on the machine. Okay. The other textures we have is like every other stone color is zigzag.
I love that.
Pattern. That's like a pseudo zigzag, and you'll see that. See, look at that. And again, I could change the colors to anything. Maybe I want an SS10 stone. And then we'll change the red to an SS10. There we go. Can't see it but we can actually change the bead spacing maybe like 10 to get a little bit more of the detail, and there we have that kind of look. Okay.
Awesome.
The other textures we have is actually the square, and square becomes a popular one, especially with sharp edges like this. Okay, and of course we could change the colors to anything you want. Okay, and you can even get more detailed and just use your manual tools to fill up a little another color in here, maybe white. You know what I mean? White here, white here. The next one we have is spiral. This is probably one of my favorite. And what I'll do is I'll change the red to white. And I'll change the white to red. That's the way it should be. That's a bat pattern, okay? That's pretty intense.
That's crazy.
And then we'll do this one here to red, and it'll give me the exact look I'm trying to look for. There we go. So with that pattern.
Now, say I had this, and I just wanted to come change this area and that area and this to blue.
Yeah. Well, what I could do is actually I can click on. You want to change the blue? You want to change all the red to blue?
No, just that one.
Just that one. Okay. Well,
you would do it manually?
Yeah, you do it manually. Like what I would do is I'd zoom in here. Because remember, it created this all as one object. So if I click, there's no way I can click on one given area.
Okay.
But what I can do is use my edit feature here, right? And then when I can zoom in, and I click on a stone and then just change it, change it to the color that I want.
Oh my God. That's great.
Okay. A couple. These are SS6s. I'm changing them SS10, so that's even another thing you can do.
You could change the size.
Absolutely.
And I'm just
I could even
like that Boo
Oh.
Halloween thing that was a huge seller. I could just put that in the text and then go change
Yep.
this, that, and
Yep.
I got it done.
You
I
got
don't
it.
have to sit and do each.
You got it.
Okay.
That's one of my favorite ones here. Okay. And then you have this one here, which changes every other color stone to a different color. You see that come up here. Okay. It's kind of neat looking. It's I could do a flag in that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Then we have the circle, and it jets out to a straight line, which is kind of nice on this one here. And then you have this is now we start getting into abstract, and now we have this effect, the spiral effect. Stuff like this on your website is going to look dynamic.
Yeah.
Okay. And then we have this one here, which is I call it like a zebra pattern.
Oh, I love that.
Because I could actually change this to make it fit a zebra type pattern. Then we have, and of course the last one is the default one, which we see here, which is the spider web. So there are your fill patterns, okay? And they're going to come out with more. Sierra's been writing software. Whenever there's an update available, you can actually download those, and they come right up for you.